Dementia, Dad, and COVID-19. This poem is dedicated to my mom, whose body is failing her rapidly while her mind is still sharp. I can't thank him. How can I even talk about him now? My hero, my oak tree, my dad. He lived in our family home for a lifetime, his mind finally too old to care for it, his memory fading like an ebbing tide, forced to cede his chainsaw and tractor to age and illness. His boat and trailers, his rifle and rod and ice house, he can't keep them keys straight. 30 of them laid out on the trunk of his 1960 Thunderbird. What key starts what motor, goes to what lock? His 3 sons inventing 13 different methods of mnemonic prompting to no avail. He looks confused, moving in his bathrobe slowly from his chair, where he fell asleep reading the newspaper for 60 years after work, to a luxury condo at Epiphany Church. These were going to be his golden years, more like his final act. I stay with him and Mom for 2 months every summer, cooking, cleaning up, managing the meds, the bills, giving my siblings a bit of a break. And I wanted to see him this summer too. I wanted to stay on the ship until the final whistle. But my visit was interrupted by a strangely quiet storm, a pandemic, something that passes through this world once in a century. COVID-19 has kept my dad from me. These precious moments stolen by strong suggestion of the state. Shelter in place in my apartment far away from the man who raised me. I can't think about him locked in a luxury condo with Mom, unable to leave their room, say, to walk the halls, quarantined in this strange and viral time, ironically imprisoned in the church he dug the foundation for in 1964. His mind is going, his autonomy tumbling into monotony and befuddlement. They took the keys to his truck. After he wrecked the second one, he's forsaken. The many small engines he's tuned and oiled, quiet now are his snowplow and ice auger. For the scythe of age has come, inevitable, ineluctable, like cold in a Minnesota winter. He makes shit up. Vandals removing the stairs from his house so he can't get a sleeping bag from the basement. Kidnappers stealing his wallet and hiding it in the ceiling light fixture. His mind riding the anxiety train in nightmarish jumbles, and it's all as real as breathing. He can't tell the difference. COVID-19, dementia, lockdown. His belongings stuffed in paper bags, he stands ready at the door of the condo for when this thing ends. He wants to go home. But they find him without his phone and his wallet standing in the park about a half mile from the condo a week before the quarantine. He didn't know his name and he wasn't sure where he was going. If my older brother hadn't found him? But all he wants to do is water the damn trees he planted as saplings. Now these giants are mighty ash and spruce and maple with trunks that need 3 of us to get our arms around. But there are 2 he didn't plant. He saved them, 2 great big red oaks from certain death as a lethal fungus devastated dozens in our front yard when I was a boy. It was a pandemic for trees called oak wilt. We drove a long, pointed metal rod. I remember I was 9, climbing the ladder 20 feet down into the roots in a giant circle and pouring a chemical he sent away for down the holes. He protected those trees from the fungus. Something like 250 holes. Took us 2 days. You should see them now. More than a century old and towering over this house. The house he's now compelled to vacate and sell. Life used to be so simple. Cutting the afternoon grass surrounding his house after catching a fish dinner from the lake at dawn. He tended all, including us, for half a century. You should see his shoeshine kit. He was my light. My knight in shining armor. He taught me what dads teach their sons, and I could not have asked for a better teacher. But now our conversations twist and dwindle. Even with my finishing his sentences, he loses the thread. He makes shit up, or worse, he's silenced by COVID-19 and dementia. I don't talk about fishing, ice or otherwise. He nods off 50 times a day. When he does, you can see him tying hooks in his sleep, his ancient fingers moving in remembered loops and tugs. It hurts me to watch this sad dream dance, but what good is it to look away? The last time we fished Sturgeon Lake, north of Ignis, Canada, he kept dropping his rod in the back of the boat. I'd turn from the bow and see him sleeping, a walleye tapping, his line bouncing the end of his rod, threatening to pull his whole rig into the lake. "Wake up, Dad, set the hook." Late that same afternoon, we're pulling into the dock. He looks up at me and he says, "Who are you?" "I'm Mark. Dad, you know me. Marco Sparkle, your fourth son, the one that moved away to New York." After a confused silence, he says with assurance, "You look like Mark." Later, cleaning fish at the counter in the fish house, he pretends it was a joke to save face. "I had you going there, didn't I?" "Yeah, Dad, you sure did. You had me going." No longer in the house he built back in 1968, alone with my mom in a luxury condo, a mind inventing disasters and darkness thanks to COVID-19 and dementia. Nature, in all its beauty, can be cruel. Left with memories of time gone by, I'm not able to share his breath for fear of killing him. When will all this end? Will I be able to hold his hand before he breathes his last breath? Will we ever fish together again? My hero? My oak tree? My dad? Last summer, I remember fixing an outlet in the basement, his basement. He didn't know which end of the wrench to use. No longer the master mechanic. He was Mr. Fix-Anything. He could weld anything. He was MacGyver without the explosions. Well, actually, there was one once at the gas station, but it wasn't big enough to hurt anybody. But all he needed was a Swiss Army knife and a paperclip, gravity and a lever. He was Mr. Make-Do, Mr. Grease-Anything, Start-Anything, Catch-Anything, a life spent making the wheel go round. It's funny what you remember when all you have left are memories. Living in a luxury condo with Mom, separated by COVID-19 and dementia. I'd get in trouble when I was a little kid and held the light in his eyes. Now it doesn't matter, though he's shining it in mine as we fix the outlet. The light passes through, no more awareness. Then a glimmer. In a rare moment of clarity, he says, "Son, soon I'm going to owe you my life." I choke back a sob. "What are you talking about?" I say, barely able to speak. "Who do you think taught me to do all this?" My hero, my oak tree, my dad. Living in a luxury condo with Mom, separated by COVID-19 and dementia.